marvelous. That, dear listener, is the word that comes to mind when I think of the human heart and its ability to form the most intricate bonds. Bonds that can be both comforting and exasperating all at once. Welcome then to the topic at hand. The dismissive and fearful-avoidant relationship dynamic. Today, we shall wander through the corridors of this peculiar interplay, uncovering the hidden reasons why people who avoid intimacy for wildly different reasons manage to collide, how they stay, and perhaps, if we are daring, how they might thrive despite the odds. Allow me to spin a yarn, if you will. Picture a couple sitting across from me in a sunlit drawing room, curtains parted ever so slightly, revealing a world outside that is both inviting and frightening. One partner, let us call him Edmund, exudes a calm, steady presence, though it may feel a touch frigid at first glance. A dismissive-avoidant is the term some experts would pin upon him. Across from him sits Evangeline, whose internal storms are both dazzling and tumultuous. She frets. She strains to breach Edmund's walls to ensure that he will not vanish into the quiet vacuum of his own solitude. She is that fearful-avoidant, torn between a yearning to be loved and a crippling fear of betrayal. And thus, dear listener, we have our cast. In any dance, there must be a step forward and a step back. Edmund, tall and silent in his hesitation, steps back more often than not. His upbringing, perhaps with distant caretakers, perhaps in a setting where emotional support was in short supply, taught him that vulnerability could be risky. Better to keep an even keel, keep emotions at bay, and maintain a sense of calm. For him, homeostasis is best preserved through a certain detachment. Swooning declarations of love, candlelit confessions of devotion, they leave him slightly baffled. He wonders, what's all the fuss about? Evangeline, on the other hand, is the perfect embodiment of storm-lashed seas. She can be gentle, even radiant when all is going well, but poke a little too hard at the trust she prizes, or give her the silent treatment one too many times, and you'll see the gale winds roaring across her horizon. The fearful-avoidant is a being of paradox. One moment longing fervently for intimacy, the next recoiling from it if she suspects even the faintest whiff of betrayal. Indeed, it can be nerve-wracking to love in this style, always peering over your shoulder for evidence that heartbreak is lurking. Now, let us dig a bit deeper into the mechanics of this curious dance. When a dismissive-avoidant pairs off with a fearful-avoidant, the fearful individual often exhibits an anxious streak. Where once she may have been a bit standoffish with others, perhaps friends, acquaintances, or a colleague, she finds herself positively brimming with need for reassurance. Do you still want me? Do I matter? Why won't you just hold my hand? These are the unspoken queries lingering in her mind. Meanwhile, Edmund, our dismissive friend, hears none of these unspoken pleas. He only detects the tumult, the surges of emotion, the tears and the anger, which for him feel like an unrelenting tidal wave. Of course, dear listener, it wouldn't be quite so harrowing if we didn't throw in the hallmark reaction each partner has to conflict. Evangeline, how spectacular she can be, flips between extremes, clinging, cajoling, wanting with every fiber of her being to bring Edmund closer. Then, if that fails, or if she feels rebuffed, she pivots to pushing him away. Deep inside, her mind runs something like this. If you won't come closer, I'll do the rejecting. So I'm not the one getting hurt. And so she might erupt, at times with volcanic force, accusing him of not caring or threatening to leave him. At that moment it feels true. Her emotions seize her entire consciousness, stifling any memory of the good times. Later she may recant, realize she didn't truly want to walk out, and attempt to patch things up. But from Edmund's perspective, all he sees is an unpredictable storm. He craves stability. He grew up starved for emotional safety, so any whiff of chaos sends him further into his fortress of solitude. He is no villain. He's simply a man who never learned that it is safe to share the more tender parts of himself. So, if Evangeline's fury rises, his drawbridge comes up. He sets the portcullis in place, and thus an excruciating cycle unfolds. The more she pounds at the gate, the more he retreats, and the more she loses her composure in frustration and hurt. One might wonder, why on earth would they stay together? Sometimes it is because the relationship still feels familiar or comfortable at a subconscious level, like two puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly in their woundedness. Sometimes it is because they see glimpses of wonderful potential. Edmund will marvel at Evangeline's passion when it flows in a positive direction. Her ability to light up a room with laughter, to show empathy beyond measure, to share wholeheartedly. Evangeline, for her part, values Edmund's steady presence. When all is calm, she finds his quiet ways reassuring, like a stable dock in the midst of her swirling waters. And so, they remain bound together. If I may, let me share a small anecdote. A friend once told me of a horse farm. Yes, I assure you there is a connection. On this farm was a spirited mare, high-strung, unpredictable, but brilliant in her ability to jump fences that would leave others trembling. Alongside her was a stout gelding, patient and rather aloof, seemingly indifferent to the storms around him. Curiously, these two formed a sort of bond. The mare would neigh and stamp about, anxious if left alone, while the gelding would calmly graze, unaffected by any uproar. Yet, if one wandered too far, the other would whinny in protest. So many misinterpretations, so many false starts, yet they never truly parted. I see a reflection of the dismissive and fearful-avoidant dynamic in that pair of horses. We find ways to coexist, even when our hearts speak different languages. Let us not dwell solely on the difficulties, however, for there is hope in knowledge. Awareness, as they say, is half the battle. If Edmund learns to decode Evangeline's emotional expressions, he might come to see that beneath her anger is a deep, childlike fear of abandonment, an old wound that flares up when she senses his withdrawal. If she can articulate her hurt promptly, saying, "When you turn away, I feel unimportant," he may, in time, learn that giving a simple hug or offering a few words of acknowledgement can calm the waters significantly. Likewise, Evangeline can glean that Edmund's stony silence is not necessarily a rejection. Rather, it is his old strategy for coping when the world feels unsteady. Instead of yelling and storming off, she might say, "I sense you need some space. Let me know when you're ready to talk." Both sides can benefit from a strategy I like to call bridging the gap. If you are the fearful avoidant, attempt to explain in detail what has hurt you before the emotional tidal wave crests. That might mean calmly saying, "I noticed you seemed distracted tonight, and I felt unappreciated," in real time, rather than letting it build into a tirade days later. And if you are dismissive, consider the impact of offering consistent, if small, affirmations. "I'm happy you're here," or "I appreciate how you handled that situation earlier." These little gestures go a long way in quieting anxious hearts. It's all a bit like the tango: 2 steps forward, 1 step back, possibly a stumble in between. But with practice, the pair can create a performance both passionate and graceful. Should you, dear listener, find yourself in such a relationship, take heart. Seek out knowledge, read about attachment styles, speak openly, and practice vulnerability in small, controlled doses. If your partner is the screaming mare or the reclusive gelding, understand that behind each facade lies a story of longing. Now, let me share a little comedic turn, lest we get too bogged down. I recall a dinner party once, where one dismissive chap spent half the night at the outskirts of the gathering, eyes glued to his phone, while his fearful-avoidant partner circled round, occasionally launching into fits of exasperation, exclaiming how he didn't seem to notice her new dress or her witty remarks. Yet when the dessert tray arrived, and the fearful-avoidant threatened to eat every last crème brûlée in frustration, the dismissive fellow simply said, quite without guile, "Well, if you must, but I'd really love just one." That small moment softened her entire demeanor. They shared the dessert, and for a moment, all was well. Such delicate, fleeting moments of harmony can remind us that even in the midst of chaos, a single gesture of togetherness can be the thread that stitches us back in place. So there it is, the dismissive and fearful-avoidant relationship dynamic, a tapestry woven of hidden wounds and equally hidden yearnings. Uncertainty is there, yes, but so is the possibility for deep understanding. The door may be locked and bolted from the inside, but with patient knocks and gentle words, it can open. The storms may be fierce, yet with an empathic anchor thrown into the depths, a resolute calm might eventually prevail. And as you ponder all of this, these dances, these storms, these fleeting moments of unexpected sweetness, remember that each partner carries not merely a bundle of defenses, but also a capacity for tenderness. In the end, nothing is more remarkable than learning to speak a language of the heart, especially when you're translating from two very different dialects of guardedness and fear. If we can muster a measure of courage to step toward each other, perhaps, just perhaps, we might find a thrilling new way to love.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.